sir.
All right. It's 6 p.m. on Tuesday, July 12th, and I hereby call this recessed meeting to order. Could you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. City Clerk?
Mayor DeBrio,
Here.
Councilmember Finley,
Here.
Councilmember Lisi, Councilmember Cumberland,
Here.
Councilmember Clark,
Here.
Councilmember Marr.
Here.
Could I get a motion to either adjust or confirm agenda?
I make a motion to adjust the agenda.
Okay.
I'd like to move both items 2022-246, 2022-247 to the action agenda.
Okay, could I get a motion to move as amended?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Finley. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Clark. All in favor?
Aye.
The next regularly scheduled city council meeting will be held on Tuesday, July 19th, 2022 at 6 p.m. in the city council chambers located here at 5000 Diamond Head Circle. We are going to move on to our motion items, and we're going to come back to the city manager's report and the budget workshop. So I will be calling agenda item public comments after we discuss a few of these items, and I know there's one specifically a lot of people are here for, so we're going to move to the minutes and the action agenda. Could I get a motion to amend the June 7, 2022 regularly scheduled meeting minutes to incorporate inadvertently omitted record of city council action regarding 28A agenda item 2022-207? Could I get a motion?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Cumberland. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Marr. All in favor? Aye. Action item 2022-245, discussion possible action regarding Phillips Pest Control LLC. Could I get a motion?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Finley. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Cumberland. Any discussion to my right? And this is moved for discussion.
No.
No.
Any discussion to my left? Okay, so at this point, does somebody make an action to move to enter into the contract?
So move.
Motion.
Go
Go ahead.
If I may,
Mhm.
I have reviewed, pull this closer. I have reviewed Mr. Moran's proposal that he sent. It actually, in my opinion, is not a contract. It is a 4-line proposal. I don't believe that we have a contract before you that you can vote on. We did request that at the last meeting, and he said he would provide it to us. What we received was a letter on his letterhead that in my opinion,
Okay, so what do we need to do?
well, we need a contract.
Okay.
We did ask him for a contract at the last meeting. In response, he sent a proposal for continuing annual service with a quarterly inside pest control and an annual exterior treatment with a price. Unfortunately, it doesn't detail any of the specifics that we would need in a contract, and the last contract that I believe the city had was in 2013.
Because he's done it for free. Do we need to get a contract from him?
Well,
Or do you-
we've asked him for a contract. I believe this is the third time. I don't know how much clearer we can be.
Okay, well, can we try one more time? And
I will-
we got a meeting Tuesday, and we'll move from there. I didn't know why it was on here is why I was asking. Okay, so now we know that wasn't a contract. So you're waiting on the contract.
So what I will do is, if it's okay, I can reach out to him tomorrow and explain that we need an actual updated contract so we know exactly what service that the city would be entering into. There's no question about the price or that. It's the question is what's the actual benefit what the city's going to receive.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you. Okay, moving on to action agenda item 2022-248, East Aloha Phase 1 change order number 3. So I'm going to move for discussion. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Finley. Any discussion to my left? Any discussion to my right? All in favor? Aye. So we first need, and we've got a lot of discussion here because everybody on the agenda items is here to talk. So I am going to ask Mr. Jason Kenichi if you wouldn't mind coming forward and turn the mic on so we can, probably the questions we're going to ask is the ones that the residents and the business owners here want to know the answers to. So we all received the new change order today, and it added additional 50 calendar days to the project, changing the substantial completion from July 1st to August 26th. First, how do we get to 50 days?
So yes, ma'am. Again, my name is Jason Kenichi with Kenichi Engineering Surveying. I know there's probably a lot of questions about this project, so I'm here to address those tonight. The 50 days was basically reviewing the additional work that was added to the contract. We can go through those line item by line item. The work that we found, the unsuitable conditions that we found, basically in that first section near Rouse's, where we found a lot of trash that was removed, a lot of unsuitable material that we had to remove. The water line that was relocated, they've been working on that for close to a month right now to get the material that they needed to get the line installed. They finally got the pressure test passes on Saturday afternoon, so now they're looking to get that connected this week and be able to remove and abandon the old line. Some other days that we've accounted for as well. We've got those tracked. We've coordinated those with the contractor. Looking back through his reports and our reports, that's how we came up with those certain days. And then holidays we worked in as well. There was Memorial Day, and then there's also Easter weekend that was factored in. We typically, depending on where the project is, this is in such a highly visible area. For those holidays, we didn't want to have any significant work going on, so we asked the contractor not to have any particular work in those areas, just in case something happened, if they hit a utility or if they had any kind of an issue. It's a holiday weekend, it's right there in front of all the stores, so we asked them to not work those days. They're federally declared holidays, and so that's usually how we factor in those times into the calendar days. So the true calendar days really didn't look at those holidays as well. So that's why we want to add back into the contract for them to get credit for that. The weather days, they did include a couple of the excessive heat days. We had, 2 or 3 weeks ago where there were just some extremely hot days. They actually had one of their workers have a heart attack or have some issue that they had to bring them off in an ambulance. So they were trying to be cautious of their workers. We've looked at that as well with some of our field crews, on the surveying side and the inspection side. And then some of the other stuff we looked at, there were some traffic control discussions, and they had to revise and modify their traffic control. So we don't look at those as productive days. We don't necessarily count those days against them if they're not able to get any type of work, completed during those days, and we don't really count those against them. So looking back through all the reports, that's how we came up and we agreed to the 50 days. They had a little bit more. We didn't agree with all of those days, so the negotiation, I guess, was down to 50.
Are they feeling they need until August 26th to complete this? That's a long time. We thought it was going to be the end of July, so that's why we're all like, that's a whole nother month.
Right. It's a little over a month. We don't think they're going to need that much time. The water line, like I said, has been completed. They had asphalt scheduled for Section 2, I believe, on Thursday. The rain today is probably going to delay that even more. We'll have to see how the conditions are tomorrow once we come back and do another proof roll of the site. So another problem is, as they have had to push their subcontractors, if the asphalt company can't be there on Thursday, then we have to wait for them to be able to schedule it to come back maybe Monday or Tuesday of the following week. So then that's going to delay them finishing up those sections. There's other work that they can be doing, but the critical path is to get the asphalt down so that we can come back and do the final overlay and then have everything opened up.
The next asphalt they do on Monday and Tuesday, that is the complete base for the entire length of the project?
No, ma'am. That'll just be for Section 2.
Okay, then section 3 is the final,
That's right. Section 3 will be the final.
Section.
and that'll
Not
be,
sections, you still gotta come back and pave it all again.
That's right. There's really
final.
going to be 4 sections now, since we added that driveway going to the north. That's really section 4. It's a pretty short stretch. They can pave that pretty quick. But they'll come back and do all the final paving at one time, so everything is a nice fresh coat on the surface course.
and the surface is how thick?
2 inches.
2 inches of surface.
2 base and 2 surface.
And getting the base down is really where we need to be so that we can open up the area to the shops by the True Value, the donut shop, exit 16. That's where we're having the biggest, and I've witnessed it and I've heard it. People can't figure out how to get in there. The improvements we did was good. I still was expecting signs.
We finally got them yesterday, or late yesterday.
So we're gonna get them up tomorrow?
Yes. We'll make sure
Well, we get them up tomorrow.
Well, I gotta ask, when you had the contract originally bid for 75 days, didn't you have any kind of idea of what you would be hitting as you went along with this whole project? I mean, it wasn't just a wild guess. Didn't you do some testing to make sure that 75 days would be a reasonable, feasible amount barring weather?
We did. We look at MDOT, how they plan out their projects. We felt that coming into March, the timing of it, we started in middle of March, and so we're getting out of the wet season, so to speak. One of the things that we just didn't anticipate was the delays with the first section. What we do when we undercut a road is we come back, we compact it, then we proof roll it with a heavy truck to be sure there's no pumping or anything that could fail later on. That just seemed to never pass. No matter how much we would remove, we would have to go down another 8 to 12 inches. And so that slowed them down for over a week, having to keep working that material. Looking back, I guess hindsight being what it is, at that point, we should have come and asked for those additional days since there was additional work that was required to complete the project. We were coordinating those delays. We had site meetings. All that information was being transferred. But we normally look at the end of the project and then make those adjustments at the end of the project if need be. And what we found moving into the other sections, the subsurface is in much better condition. We haven't had any of the same issues that we had in that first section.
Okay, so I'm still a little bit hazy because you did come in earlier for a 21-day extension from the 75. That was, I presumed, based upon what you found in Phase 1. Is that not correct?
No, sir, that was for the water line. That was for the water line that needed to be relocated. That was those time frames for that, the additional work for that.
And you didn't think to add the substructure not passing the rolling at
We
that
didn't.
time?
We felt like we would make up the time and it wouldn't be a problem, wouldn't be a factor. Because they had already done some investigation into Section 2. We had a very good idea that section wasn't going to give us the same issues and the same delays as the first section. So we felt like the contractor would be able to make up his time once he was able to move out of that first section.
When do you foresee the exit 16 True Value parking lot being opened up to tie into the Dollar Tree and Rouse's so that everybody, and this is where we have the issue, when you've got to go out and come back, by then you're disgusted and you're going home, you're like, or if you're not from here and you can't figure out how to get in there. That's a big factor, because if you're not here every day and you don't see it, you're totally confused. And those are the calls I get. So when do we see having that open so everybody can start flowing like we're used and very accustomed to doing?
But when they do that second year, they're gonna be moving to the front section.
That'll be closed off by the bank, so that's why I'm
Then
saying.
there's a curve going up, you'll have to go all the way down, right? to
Right,
the-
yeah, they'll have to
the
open
group
up
that come
Section
across
2
at
and
that
come
point,
through there.
Cause there's not any cut across
Yeah.
there.
We need a cut across there is my point. When we get the base on, it should be where we can get a cut across there.
Okay.
But it's curved there right now, I believe.
Yeah, that was the original intent, was to adjust those entry points based on the planner's layout.
There's no way to cross over with the new curb cuts to have it where they can just cross on the base until we can open it all up.
Let me look at that tomorrow.
Yeah, there
I'll get
should
with
be
the
in phase
contractor and see
2.
if they can't.
I don't think there is, so.
But we don't want to cut it.
Not cut
No,
the
we
curb,
don't.
but
Not cut-
see if it would, Right.
But the
right,
curb
right.
cuts that are existing, there is
Yeah.
an ingress egress in that location coming out the Dollar Tree.
Now, we do have curbs broken over there in front of the Goodwill crossing over. Truck drivers are just, I'm surprised they even went this long, but I noticed the last week that there was a section of curb and broken where they're cutting across.
Cutting across,
And
okay.
we survived this long, but, the way I look at it time-wise, probably didn't.
Yeah.
But it got it done on time, we wouldn't have had that issue this time, but
Did-
it is what it is now.
Well, and those
Oh,
kind
yeah,
of things,
which-
we'll do a final inspection, and that'll be added to the punch list before we issue any kind of final certification for the project.
Do you have a plan on you right now?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say, I know the egress and ingress, there's one up by where the new road's going to go in.
Mhm.
There's a clear cut there, so once the base is in, I don't know why we can't open that up.
Yeah, we can look at that
Mhm.
tomorrow to see if that would be a possibility, at least in that one section.
Mayor, with your permission, can we call up our city engineer just to get his take on the change orders and everything?
We can, let's see if, is there any more questions for the engineer of record?
Jason, it's just a frustration for all the business owners, and that's what the beef is, because it's just taking so long. It's affecting all our businesses. Cars coming into, since we're waiting on that last layer of asphalt to, get laid, got the big drain right there in front of the driveway, you come across and boom, boom, it's,
Yeah, we knew that this was going to be a very, very challenging project just because of the area that it's located in. And a lot of things have added to the delays. I think, they're justified. There's things that we didn't anticipate, the contractor didn't anticipate, and I think he understands with the frustration, and he's ready to get finished with this just as much as everybody else is. And I really think, as far as the time frame, I can't tell you 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but I will say this, checking it out this week, and I rode through it this afternoon, he's got a lot of work already completed in those next sections. He's got some curb already installed, a lot of the base work's already completed, so he's basically out of the ground right now, and that's what the challenging part is. Once you get out of the ground, putting down rock, rolling the rock, compacting that sub-base, and then getting the asphalt in is really the quick part of it. It's getting to that point, which is sometimes time-consuming.
See, what I'm most concerned about is that he was the low bid, and that maybe some of these things should have been anticipated when he was making the low bid and given a time frame. And that's why I would really like our city engineer to come up and give his opinion on some of these change orders. Could
but if we have more questions for Jason, I think.
Well,
I
I'm not saying
guess
for him not to go.
so I guess my final question is, it's actually a statement. It's not a question. We want to, once that base is put on Monday and Tuesday, as soon as they can open it up to allow better access into the parking lot with the True Value, the Exit 16, the donut shop, then we need to do whatever we can to get it where we can get easy access. So people coming can go through all the parking lots and meander while they're working on Phase 3 up by the bank.
I'd like to
Anything
say
y'all
work
can
with him
do
on
to
that.
make that happen, that's like so critical.
Yes, ma'am.
Jason, do you have a breakdown for us for the 50 days? You mentioned
It's-
traffic control and
I have a rough breakdown that
holidays.
we've got today. And it's actually, if you add up all these days that they did put in, it's actually 68 days is what they had originally asked for. Then we agreed back down to 50 days based on what we found. But some of the weather delays, they were looking at 17 days for weather. And that includes, so it might not be raining, but whenever you're doing dirt work, if you get any rain overnight, well, then usually you got to wait for it to dry out. And so
Right.
they've had several days like that. Unforeseen conditions, 15 days.
What is an unforeseen condition?
Yeah, so this is the unsuitable material that we found below while we were excavating for the road base. There was trash, there's a lot of stumps that they had to remove. All that just slows down their progress.
So that was the stuff we were talking about
In
the
section
beginning,
one,
of
right.
it.
And then there was some undersized pipe and some metal pipe, culvert pipe, that they removed, I think in section 2, some drainage that we had to take out. Didn't know that it was there, didn't know that it was metal pipe. So that was something that we made a decision while we're building this new road. It's not really good to have metal pipe underneath a brand-new road. So we pulled that out. Those are some of the unforeseen conditions that they anticipated or that they came across. The additional road footage, So the driveway going to the north, I got it into Jim's Shopping Center. That was about an additional 10 days worth of work for that, with the excavation, the compaction, the new material going down, and then they still have to come back and do the curb and everything. But they've anticipated that additional work in those 10 days.
So there's no change in cost for that?
No, sir. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. There's unit prices, so we have unit prices to cover all that work. So there's no additional work. The scope of work hasn't changed, so that we had to add any pay items. Like for the water line, that was a completely new pay item. Nobody anticipated that, so that was a change order, and it had costs associated with that. For this, there's just additional days. There will be costs for the work, but it's all paid for out of the unit prices that have already been established in the contract.
Right.
As overruns.
Right. It's all going to be additional,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
because it wasn't in the original quantity, I guess, that was bid.
Did Coast Chlorinator get out yet? Do you know?
They were supposed to be there
yesterday.
yesterday, was the schedule. I'm not sure if they made it or not. I know Moran was in close communication with them to try to get them on site.
So when the plans are done, how many drives are there gonna be into, like, the exit 16 in the hardware store going in? I mean, is it just gonna be that one road right there behind the liquor store, or is there
No,
another?
Yeah, there's the entry points are going to be the same on the south side. They're going to be adjusted. They won't be in the same location because we had to move them for the Taco Bell site plan. So when they gave us their site plan, we had to adjust where that crossing, where that
Okay, so
driveway
there's
was going to be.
another road.
There's another one right
Okay.
there, yes, sir. Then on the north side, there's still going to be two. There's going to be some curb. It's not going to be open like it is now, but there will be curb and there'll be parallel parking through there, but there's still going to be two entries to the north
Right,
side as well.
right.
Yeah,
Should we
one's
expect
closed.
another change order for price?
What we'll do for the unit prices and the quantities is we'll do a quantity adjustment at the end of the contract, because we're seeing some underruns on some items too. The asphalt that we've estimated, we're underrunning on that. So we'll see where those numbers shake out, on the final payment, and then we'll do a quantity adjustment at that
Okay.
point. Basically zero everything out, so.
Okay.
Okay, is there any other questions? So, thank you, Mr. Kenichi.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank
We
you.
look forward to an early completion. That means
Yes.
prior to August 26th.
So
And
do
we
I.
can come out there and help with anything, bring
Okay.
some bottled water, whatever they need.
All right, we'll keep that in consideration.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Ben, did you want to come up? I don't know, have you even looked at the change orders?
I saw it today, yes, ma'am.
Okay, we don't want to put you on the
There's a
spot.
lot more about it than I do.
I know, so that's why we don't want to throw you under the bus.
But I can answer any questions you may have, or try to.
Is this something unusual in construction?
No, no. I mean, weather days, unforeseen conditions, I guess I would have, so basically my review is just based on what Jason provided and what you've seen. Personally, I'd like to see a little more information on those days, if you're agreeing to give those days to the contractor, just to make sure it matches what the contract says. Weather days is very understandable. If we get a lot of rain, it's going to delay dirt work for a few days. Unforeseen conditions, if it wasn't attributed to something that we knew that was going to happen, or a pay item that we knew was going to be implemented, then we can give them, I would strongly recommend giving days for that. And I made some notes, bear with me.
Well, when you go from 75 days to 146 days, that's right at double.
That's a pretty large change. The utility conflicts, I didn't know what that, I just was gonna ask for more information, so Jason covered that today. The additional road footage, I don't know if that's something y'all requested, or the board requested, or the administration requested, but that would need to be, I think, a change order, or at least a field work directive. And then it could potentially be an overage. It sounds like there's plenty of, extra pay items in the contract, so it may not go over contract price.
That wasn't us, so Jason, we probably need a field directive on that. It wasn't us that,
And that was my question, was it a change order or a field
no,
directive?
it wasn't either, so it probably needs to be addressed as a field directive.
And then the utility testing, my question to that would be, was that not included in the 21 days for the water line, because they knew they were gonna have to do field testing. And then finally, on no work days and holidays, again, the way the contract reads is it's 75 calendar days. They cannot work weekends or holidays without the permission of the city. So did they ask to work weekends and holidays, and we told them no? Therefore, we need to give, we probably should give them days, or we could give them days. We're not required to by the contract. So I think there's some legal questions that maybe Derek could answer better than I can, but, are days warranted? Absolutely. Is it 50 days? I can't tell you that today with the information we have.
If we need to make a motion to work holidays, we're all about that, and weekends.
I work them all.
I know, they're like,
Well, I think like Jason said, though, the decision that he made out there was to make sure that there was not any unforeseen issues by working on those days that would cause any
Okay, I
shutdown to
see
those
what you're
businesses.
saying.
So that was kind of a
Okay.
decision that he
and that's
that he made.
probably fair, okay.
I still see, just based upon what you say, that we need more detailed information, not just that there's so many days, but exactly what was happening during those days that stopped it. I mean, I think we need a kind of a day by day that you're asking for, a breakdown of why this day, instead of just saying, here's 50 days more. I know for me, I'm not ready to say yes to a change order for 50 days with no penalty until I know more. I mean, it just seems so broad, and I still don't seem to have the answers that what's causing this to be from 75 days, then added 26, and now add 50. What is exactly each day going to bring us, and when do you get held accountable for the $300 a day penalty? To me, it just seems like we just keep pushing it back, and I think that's one of the things we put in the contract. We presume that you're going to put in a little extra for when you do encounter the unexpected, because what project doesn't have the unexpected? So that's just my 2 cents.
And I guess mine is, who directed the new road by going in the, okay, so nobody here knows. So there's a lot of the factor. Did you want to say something?
I can address that.
Okay.
Come on up.
So, the road going to the north, the additional driveway, the curb cut was always shown in the original plan. So that was a location that the planners had
Right.
identified for the road. We stopped it at the right-of-way for this contract. Once we got out in the field, started working, it seemed like it made sense to let this contractor go ahead and make the cut, tie it into the parking lot so that all the curb and everything tied in, and it was all done at one time. So that's where that decision was made. The location of that driveway was always where it is now. It was
Right.
just the area from the right-of-way. We had to get an additional easement, additional right-of-way from Rouse's and from Mr. Jim.
And I
to make
remember
that.
us recently approving those.
Right,
Those
right.
were on the agenda, and I clearly remember that. So I guess the problem, and I see a magnitude of problems, I really do. It was just a shh. So, and here's my thoughts on it. That added days. You can't add a whole road in and not add days to it. That should have either been, and I'll agree with Ben on this, a change order or field directive. So we could have at that point, and I'm sure you were authorized by the city to go ahead and do it, but it should have been either of those, so then we could have set the tone for where we're going, but we didn't. So we just added the overrun on the quantity, some are under, and we've all seen it done a million times. When you get to the final, you get your quantities adjusted and you sign off that way. So the calendar days, you check the contract, you do this all the time. You know that out of the 60 whatever he had, 68 days, 50 of them were legitimate. That is
Right,
your
we felt comfortable
responsibility
with
to
it.
check. Your responsibility, this is what we hire you to do, to make sure it's in the contract and everything, and these 50 days you can vouch and say are legitimate.
Yeah, I think so. We went back and looked at our reports. We checked his reports. There were some days where we had, if it was a good day that they could have been working, and we felt like they should have been out there getting some work done, then we did not include that in the 50-day time frame.
There seem to be a lot of those.
I know, so, but I see it from.
And some of it could be, just to defend the contractor a little bit, they do sub out the curb work, they're subbing out, the drainage boxes, they're subbing out, the asphalt, they're subbing out. So they're basically doing, they did the water line, they did that in-house, they did all the pipe, the culvert pipe. And so as they would get another trade potentially delayed, or, you know, if they planned on building the boxes near Rouse's on a Monday, but they were still excavating the roadway, well, then that box subcontractor can't work. So he's got to go on to something else. And then just like the asphalt, like I mentioned earlier, if that was scheduled for a Thursday, they get rained out, well, they're gonna go somewhere else and work, and then we gotta reschedule them to come back. So there might be a beautiful day, Friday and Saturday, but if all the work that has to be done is paving, well, then the contractor, Moran Hauling, can't do that. They're subbing those services out. So there's some scheduling right there as well.
I believe the curb people have been on their game when they need. I mean,
Yeah.
they seem to be way ahead of everybody else, which, you know, it's promising.
What I would like to see, because no matter how we challenge these 50 days, you're the engineer of record, you've approved them, you said that this is what you're recommending, and I've never seen anybody challenge an engineer's recommendation on, you know what's going on. But what I would like to see moving forward is the city engineer involved, working with you, weekly reports, not bi-weekly, but a weekly report every week to the council on where we are, where we're headed. You know, what's going to be closed off, what's opened up, how are the businesses being impacted, a weekly report. This is our goal for this week. You know, they have the schedule. We all know they have the project schedule. Did we meet the goals for that week? We got behind, and why did we? Every week until we get it finished. Is that a doable? So we know what's
Yeah, I
going
think that's a
on,
good
because
idea.
we're questioned, and then we know if we're tracking it, things tend to move a little
I don't want to get
quicker.
all the way down here where we're at and find out
Mhm.
it's another month.
Yeah, so
Right.
let's do it weekly. Let's do weekly reports to the council and monitor it with their production schedule, because we know now they should have their, did they update their project schedule?
That's what he's working on, pending approval of the change order, the additional 50 days.
Okay. So at that point, then he knows where he is and what we have. Okay. Do y'all like that idea?
Yeah, I think it's the business owners,
Did,
you know,
this,
need to know.
okay. Do y'all like that idea?
I'd like it. How, are we gonna get that in an email?
Yes,
Say
email
weekly?
us.
Yeah, we can give you an update.
We like emails.
I'll email it through John.
And he can forward it on.
forward it on.
Okay. All right, well, let's do that, and let's get it done as quick as we can.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm all about having that extra road in there that you're talking about over there.
Yeah.
I believe we need to. I thought we were having just one road down there, down at the end down there, and that was like, that wasn't
Bad.
gonna work out too
That's
well. So I'm
bad.
glad to hear that we do have the second road. That was, actually, I was asked that yesterday, I believe it was, by one of the business owners, wanted to know if we were having just one road or two, so
Mhm.
it's
But-
good to hear.
But I would go ahead and either do a field directive or a change order,
Okay.
so that we know we don't get to the end and the overrun looks astronomical because of the extra line items that we added on.
Okay.
All right. So did any of the business owners that signed up, do y'all want to speak?
I do have one question. I am Jamie Kingston with Exit 16. I don't know if any of y'all have been down that side road today. It's a big mud hole right now. And so I think that's another obstacle we have right now. Not only do people not know where we are, the ones that do know it, boutique customers in particular, don't want to go through a mud hole to go to the boutique.
Jason, can we get that fixed tomorrow?
Yes, ma'am.
Need some limestone.
I think part of the problem too is when there's a delivery being delivered at the liquor store, half the road is obstructed, and then the other half is sitting in a pile of mud.
Okay, so John, can we contact the liquor store and let's work on the deliveries? They need to pull out the road. That's the only road coming in and out. And you getting those signs put up tomorrow? Okay,
Hey, I'm Joanne. I'm over at Southern Roots. Our main problem is what he said.
okay.
When it rains, the potholes are covered. I spoke with Diamond Head. They said it wasn't theirs. I spoke with Mr. Jim. He said it wasn't his. I spoke to Casano. They said it wasn't his. It all went back to Diamond Head. It cost me $400 for a part, which is CV joints I had to repair on my car from hitting the pothole, which was this big. I have pictures of it. The next day it was filled, but the damage was already done to my car, plus the $200 for the parts. So, I mean, that's $600 that I didn't have to put out. The clients are complaining about it. 2 older ladies, original Diamond Head people, had to park in Rouse's parking lot and walked their little heinies all the way down to the salon because they couldn't find out how to get in, and they said today they won't be coming back right now. So that's 2 people I lost, and I'm barely keeping my head above water. So we are getting, me particularly, I'm getting my butt kicked. I've been out here for 22 years. I have a good clientele, but not right now. I mean, I am like getting my butt kicked majorly. Like I'm barely hanging on. And that's with handing out flyers, that's with selling myself, that's with, nobody wants to drive through that. And if it's tearing up people's cars, you know, and they gotta walk all the way from Rouse's to come to the salon, them little old people ain't gonna do that. They're gonna find other places to go.
No, they're not
And I
gonna do
worked my
that.
butt off to get where I'm at, and it kinda sucks that now I'm gonna like, I'm barely hanging on, like barely. Mostly the car part really kicked my butt. So, I say mostly the road and getting something done where people can get in, get out. Same thing with Rouse's, you go drive over the thing and it tears up your car. Doesn't matter how slow you go. And I don't have an old car, but, you know, now I have all this damage that keeps happening. So, just something has to be done, because
Okay.
we are getting our butts kicked.
Jason, can we make sure every day that that contractor makes sure that road is passable? And I know I have sent emails saying it's not passable, and I drive slow. So we need to know that he needs to make sure limestone's down and it's passable at all times. And hopefully we get the base down Monday, Tuesday, and we get it opened up. Yes, come.
Hello, I'm Dale with Diamond Head True Value. 3 guys every day working on the job. Never gonna get finished. I watch it every day. Unfortunately, I watch it every day. Do they have another job somewhere else? What's his name?
Jason.
Jason? Are they backed up on other jobs too?
They've got some other projects, but they have different crews working on each project.
But they're backed up on those too? I'm being told they're backed up in CD of Bay St. Louis.
One of them is another project that we have, and so far they're close to their schedule, about halfway finished.
Okay, well, I was told that they're behind in Bay St. Louis. We can't go 50 days, guys. I'm dying. We're dying. We're dying. Point blank. 50 days, lost 50% in June. I'm on schedule to lose 60% in July. Average that for August. Where we're headed. Yeah, I've already called Jim and said, hey, I don't know, but Jim doesn't get involved. But we need help. We need to get finished. When I say 3 guys, you can't finish a job with 3 guys. Not like that. That's huge, you know. And I know Donnie and all them, they're great people. We all know them. But we got to finish the freaking job. Got to do it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Dale. So we need to keep a better watch on it, and I think we need to keep a much closer watch on it. We're at the tail end, and it needs to move a lot quicker. So both you two have it, weekly reports?
I'm very quick. Are you referring to me?
Oh, no, ma'am, I wasn't. Not unless you want to get out there and help us too with this. So y'all both, so you're going to do weekly reports to the council. We're going to make sure that we get the and even add in, here's what we're going to do this week. You know, because you're getting an updated schedule. Here's our goal for this week. And then on Friday, send it to John and say we met the goal or we didn't because of this. And let's keep doing that so we make sure that we stay on it and we don't get behind again. And it's a lot of extra work, I get it, but we can't fall short, and we need to finish early.
John, did you get in touch with the Time at Warren too about the, right there at the end of Veterans and East Aloha?
I did, I spoke with David about that, as well as Jason, about trying to put some rock down in the
Yeah, because I don't think that Morans was responsible for that. I think somebody said that was the water and sewer going underneath there.
Water
Huh?
and sewer, David said he would put some rock down there, but I spoke to Jason about it as well. He said, you know, more, it's on their property, as far as their work site.
Because that's maybe people having to come around, you know, instead of being 2 lanes at the stop sign, now it's more like 1, so. 1.5. Okay, thank you.
Jason, would it mess you up if we tabled this and you put the days in with the change order for the road and have it all to us for next Tuesday? Okay. And then maybe put a sheet in there with why the days are. So if we do all that, then we know where we're going.
That would definitely help.
Okay, so we discussed it, so,
I want to say one more thing. I want to ask
Mhm.
John. John, do we have anybody in Public Works or anywhere in the city that can drive that area so that things don't happen like potholes?
I've been driving it pretty much every morning to
Yeah.
check it as well. And we continue to do that for Jason, where there's issues
Okay.
with the rain.
Thank you.
all right, now we're gonna move on. Are the business owners okay? We're good? So we're not gonna move on anything today. We're gonna wait till next Tuesday.
You said you drive it every morning.
I tried to,
Not into
I didn't
us.
say anybody did anything, I just report.
We're gonna make sure that that happens. Sure. You sure, Diane? Well, congratulations to both of you. Precious.
Your grandbaby.
There's nothing better than grandbabies. Okay. So moving along, we have just totally messed this agenda up. Well, why don't you come up on your non-agenda item? No, we discussed it and that was it, so we're just gonna let it, no action. Because change order 3 is gonna look completely different on next Tuesday.
Mayor, hi. Councilman, thank you. And city staff, thank you also. My proposal is to the city of Diamond Head to change the name of Kapui Court to Martin Luther King Court, and also to add to the other cross street on off of Jack's in between, down by the storage units and across from the assisted living home, to name that crossover Presidential or President's Way. And this would be of no cost to homeowners. It would not affect the POA, and we would come up to times with being a city and just not a Polynesian resort community. It'll match a few of the other names in town. So that's my proposal, and I hope y'all will consider it and look at the benefits of it too. It's near the community center. You could have a stand with the mayor and the councilmen for parades, Martin Luther King or presidential parades. However, but it would give another basis for more, entertainment. You could have booths and marching bands. I just think it's a good idea.
Thank you very much.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you. So we have 2 more action agenda items. Action agenda item 2022-246, a motion to enter into an agreement with Orion Planning and Design at an hourly rate of $175 per hour for design review services related to interpretation of municipal codes, plans, and ordinance. Could I get a motion?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Cumberland. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Finley. Any discussion to my left?
Do we have any, are we just?
Are you on my left, Councilman
Your other
Finley?
right. Do you mean your other left?
No.
Go ahead.
Any to my left?
But
'Cause I
just
know
have-
Councilman Moore
Related
does.
to interpretation of municipal codes, I thought they were actually creating new municipal codes, not
They-
interpreting.
Yeah, completely. So if
Okay.
you look at their
Well,
scope
that's
of
what I need
work,
to hear.
their scope of work here on the page, it says design review or other consultants' work. And that's like when, let's just pick on Ben. He designs East Aloha. They review it to make sure it's with the comprehensive plan and things are cohesive. Interpretation of municipal codes, because we all have our own interpretation. It's probably different. Review of development applications to make sure, just say the Taco Bell signage is right or that, and then any requests that are not on here that they need to help the city manager with. Okay, now to my right, Councilman Finley.
Is there a time frame or a not to exceed amount?
There is a not to exceed amount, item G on page 3, $15,000.
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay, 15 annually, item G.
That's fine, I just wanted to,
Mhm.
just want to make sure they weren't sitting in the cab.
This is the same contract that they already had.
That's what I remember.
Yeah.
It was $600 a month was the cap.
Okay, yep.
This way, if they have to spend 800 one month and 200 the next, it works out.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions to my right?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
2022-247, motion to rescind July 5th, 2022, approval of Rostan Solutions LLC Task Order Number 5, referencing DR 4626 Hurricane Ida, and approve revised Task Order 5 in the amount not to exceed $25,000 for FEMA Hazardous Mitigation DR 4576 Hurricane Zeta application development and benefit cost analysis for residential acquisition project. Could I get a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Marr. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Clark. Any discussions to my left? Any discussions to my right? I have a discussion on this. So I thought this was to rescind the motion, but we did see it was two different storms. So the task order and the NOI was two different storms declared. This is HMGP written off of Zeta, not Ida.
That is correct. Right. Originally, all the paperwork and the documentation was for Hurricane Ida.
So,
And then it changed midstream.
so why are we not, FEMA will come do this for no money.
And FEMA will not create the actual applications. They will come and do some oversight, but they will not do the applications.
Okay, and the $5 million is for the entire state.
Not that I'm aware of. This was a NOI that we did, and it's been allocated to Dallas.
$5 million's been allocated? Okay, because I got a different statement. Mine was $5 million is for the state. And usually HMGP works that way. You know, it's a portion of all the FEMA funds that have been allocated. A certain percentage goes to HMGP, and it's for the state, and anybody in the state can apply for it. Whether you've been affected by or impacted by the declared storm is totally irrelevant. Okay. So all in,
It's completely reimbursable. We will have to pay, and then FEMA will reimburse us for it. But,
and the only reason,
the $25,000 also will be included in as part of the cost of the project, and that will get reimbursed.
and admin fees are reimbursable, but I have seen thousands of admin fees not be reimbursed, so that's why I'm cautious. I'm very cautious on admin fees, because if I feel that FEMA can come in and do it for free, then I'm very cautious on that. So, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm gonna have to be a no on that one. All right, moving on to, finally, our workshop while we were here tonight. So now we're gonna open up the workshop for the FY23 budget.
Thank you. Just one last thing on that last motion. So far, we have 26 homeowners that are very eager in looking at this project or this program, and that they have already contacted. They're still waiting on a few more phone calls back. So these 26 are very interested. We'll do our best to have them all here Friday to meet with Rostan to fill out the full application and get all the paperwork taken care of that they need. So we could get some homeowners out of some flood areas and get them into a better place with a little less flood damage possibilities.
And that'll be a good thing. On those NOIs, can we make sure they go before the council before we submit them to MEMA, so that, because like on that one, it has, you know, you can pick whether you just do acquisition or elevation or relocation.
That is correct, and that is.
But we only picked
well, actually, we submitted two, or at least two, and this was the one that they picked and approved, which was
relocation.
Acquisition. Right, but we do have one in there for relocation.
Yeah, which might come later, but at a
Yeah.
different percentage, 80/20.
Okay, so those we'd like to see explained more when we do them, before we submit them. Okay, I'm good now.
So let's move on to our budget workshop. Each of you should have what you see in front of you, our software version, instead of just my Excel spreadsheet. This includes every fund that we have, including creating a new fund for our our bond issue revenue that we'll receive, and then showing where the expenditure coming out of 104, our infrastructure project or fund, where we repay that bond on a yearly basis. So that is in there as well. But starting with just the general fund, the first page that you see there shows all our revenues. That has not changed yet, as I still haven't got anything hard from Jimmy Ladner's office yet on what our ad valorem millage is going to be. We've got a voice call that said it was 101, but we're still not 1,000% certain on that. So he's trying to get some final numbers on things to give us an actual number. So as soon as we get that, we can make those adjustments. The rest of it should look pretty much the same. I think there were some minor changes that I made, specifically in Public Works, noticing that I think it was the retirement or the health insurance I didn't quite have correct. My formula didn't work out the way I wanted it to, so I made an adjustment to that to add to it. But what it all comes down to, unfortunately, still with our general fund, is that this is still a deficit spending. We're still looking at spending more than we are going to receive in revenues. Not a significant amount, truthfully, but still about $250,000 that we're going to spend are in expenses over what we are going to anticipate, or what I have so far anticipated in revenue. Now, as I told you last time, I'm a very conservative budgeter, and I do not want to say, oh, I expect $300,000 more in ad valorem, when I really don't know that I'm going to see that. So I may be way off on this, and it may come through, and we'll be in good shape. But like I said, I just want to be conservative to that, because if it doesn't show up, middle of the year, end of the year, we're having to cut out things, and projects don't get done that we were wanting to take care of.
Watch our money, don't we?
Exactly, I do, as if it were mine. But our biggest, to me, our biggest concern is going to be our grant matching. We're getting a lot of grants, and if the rest of those come through, we're going to have to come up with somewhere where we pull that match for them. Most of them are either 80-20 or 75-25. So they want the city to put in some money. So we've just got to be aware of that. That just because there's money in the fund balance doesn't mean it may stay there. But that's my opinion on all that. My other thing, big thing, is on our contingency of money. We have $2 million that we moved back over into that contingency fund to cover or to put away in case of our next natural disaster or whatever that may happen. Unfortunately, 2 years ago when Zeta hit, we spent probably 2.25 or 2 point something over our $2 million, and that was a somewhat small hurricane, even though it was a direct hit on us. So I would like the council to consider putting in more. 2 years later, with the cost of things right now, I don't know that $2 million is going to be enough to cover another storm that comes through. With fuel costs and everything else, it's going to be definitely more than $2 million, even the same size storm.
And that fund was originally set up by Tiny Case, our auditor, for our 3-month contingency, because we didn't have one. We didn't have one in place. So he came in and he had set it up using that for the 3-month contingency fund. For if we learned after Katrina, if you were working for a governmental entity, there was no way to get money, there was no way to pay people, there was no way to do business. So having that fund set up with the 3-month and you should have that by law, you need to have the 3-month contingency fund. It was set up, established for that. So, but then it got used, and we had to make a motion to use it for the debris removal so that we could have that used for that. But then the auditor said, you've got to watch how much So this is what I'm thinking about, how much we collect with ad valorem taxes that we have, that we put up. There's taking too much and not using it.
Sure.
There's a fine line between taking too much from everybody's, and this is, you have to look at it like this is everybody's money collectively in one account.
Sure.
It's taking more than you need to do, and run a conservative government.
Right.
And we know we want to stay at 29.5 mils, and we've been doing wonderful with that. We feel Jimmy's going to come in higher than last year because we've seen everything increase. I mean, there's no values going down, so one would think the mills would be higher.
Right.
So you're over, we have an overage of 1.5 million? That's what you feeling?
That's my estimated fund balance will end, if all the projects end, which I don't think they will. So of course it's going to be a little bit higher, but that additional, fund balance would be covered under expenditures for the next year that are already, put out in encumbrances. But the 1.5 million is what I consider our 3-month fund balance reserve, because these are in 2 separate accounts altogether. Our contingency money is in a totally different bank account. We're talking about the 1.5 million is in our general fund bank account.
So you
And
got
that 1.5
3.5 million in reserves.
Well, now, that 1.5 million is what we have in reserve for the 3 months. Specifically at October, November, December, when we're coming towards the end of the fiscal year, where the revenues are just not there. That's where that 1.5 million covers us for the rest of the year until the new tax year comes in.
And we
January.
shouldn't, so with that being said, we shouldn't, look at moving any till we close out September 30th is how I feel. We
That's
shouldn't
fine.
look at putting any more in the emergency and then see where we are at that point.
And that's fine.
Just my thought. Because you
No
never
problem with
know. I mean, you don't know.
I don't think we need to start any new projects.
I don't think we need any
finish
more
up all the
task
projects we
orders.
have.
Well,
We're-
We need to finish up what we got going on now and then
I
go from
just-
there.
There's grants out there that we are getting awarded that have, a percentage that we have to put in to match.
And
That's
engineering
gonna be part of it.
contracts. We're 41 deep engineering contracts, when most cities have 10.
Well, every one of these projects, I don't know about that.
No, I've asked a
I look
few.
at, I can look at Jason's board there. I know Bay St. Louis has got a lot more than 10.
No, a lot of them, Pastor Christian has 10, I asked specifically. So a lot of them do, you're talking to somebody that was in it for 40 years, this is a lot of contracts one city has.
Right.
We have, we're
We got a lot going on.
we're like
I would agree.
1.5 million deep on engineering work. But if we don't have the money to do the projects, then
I do that, engineering.
exactly. So we have to, we're ready to put the brakes on the task orders till we figure out where we're going. We were blowing and going, moving them, but it's time to really analyze.
Well, almost.
Maybe do a project, let's do a project workshop and let's all sit and talk about it.
Okay. That's fine.
Okay.
Most of those projects already have grant funding in there, and they are viable projects that we're doing. The money's there to work on them. That's why the engineer was there to be paid, or the task order was created. And there were a few that were just, exploratory or give us some overall site plans, specifically the drainage basins, to give us an idea of what we need to do in those. But the rest of them are all viable projects. Most of them are going out for bid, and the funds are in the bank to cover those.
And we're still waiting on grant money from a year ago for some of the drainage projects.
But yet we've got some engineering projects that we've had the grant money for 3 years and hadn't spent. Tidelands.
Correct, I agree.
So we got,
Still waiting on some permits for those things.
we got to
because
work on that.
Federal government moves slow.
Do we
Just
have the-
remember, we're never dredging, we're only restoring.
That's correct.
Not really. Do we have the plan zoning commissioners on?
I do
Budget.
not. Those were the things I wanted going to talk about and discuss with you guys. There was a request to add planning and zoning, and we looked up the state law on that, and it's up to $120 a month.
It's a per meeting fee.
It's a per meeting, it's a per meeting fee that you can pay them. with an aggregate of $120 in a month. So if you want to say $120 per meeting, then if there's 2 meetings or 3 meetings, they're still only going to get paid once, $120. If you do $60 a meeting and there's only one, then they're of course only going to get 60, and you're going to leave the rest on the table. I don't know that I would recommend going for the full amount, but that's the max that you can pay them by state law.
Do we not?
Per month.
Surrounding cities, do we know what they may be getting paid, or?
I did not reach out to anybody to ask that question, but I can.
Well, but we need to make that decision tonight, right?
We don't
Because-
have to. I mean,
I mean,
think
don't
we
you
still
have to
may
have
be-
all this information, the budget completed by, isn't tonight, like last night for us?
Next meeting, I think.
No, Tuesday we have to put.
Right, it has to be done right before then.
Right.
Anybody want to agree on a price for now, or?
Take Pass Christian and Bay St. Louis and
Yeah, we should reach out collectively and see what other cities are doing.
Okay.
I was thinking it was the 84, but it's a 120.
120. Yeah. I mean, I can reach out and find out. It would
Yeah,
be
it's a
small
different
add into the
statute
overall
that
budget.
covers municipalities versus utility districts and
Oh,
and
okay.
all that.
And I know the one for utility districts because it doubled from 08.
But it's aggregate per month, they can't make more than 120, and they have to actually be at the meeting to get it, so.
So if
Can't
it's
do a
two-
phone in, right?
Well, a phone-in,
It's being at the
they're
meeting.
okay, that's
Okay.
attendance,
Okay.
but they have to, so it's just up to y'all as to what typically they meet once a month.
You can tell them the
But-
cost. You need the cost calculated.
Right,
If we
yeah.
did 60, then if you had 2 meetings, would be fine.
Right,
I see where you're coming.
Yeah,
Okay.
the total max would be $10,800. If you
At
did
$60?
120 No, 120 times 7 members times 12 months.
We should budget
So
that,
half of that would be 5,400, I guess.
which would be 60 a meeting.
And you can
Okay.
always increase, you can, if you don't give them the whole 120, you can increase it over time if you
Okay,
want.
let's start them off with.
Mm-hmm. That's up with 60, yeah, because that's 120 if they need 2 meetings, and we're not stressed and say, sorry, you can't be paid, but be here at 6.
So we got to vote on that, or what we got to do?
Oh, no, he's got to put it in the budget.
I can add it into the budget.
Okay.
All right. The rest of the budget, the rest of the pages you have there, starting what this calls page 9 and going forward, is each one of the funds, for the grants that we have. Pretty much just kind of basic, nothing really exciting in there. They all more or less should zero out, is what my anticipation is, saying that what revenue or what expenses occur, we'll get the revenue to cover them. So, really nothing much as far as the budget goes on the rest of those. And then, of course, there is the one for the bond issue and the $5 million, for that. That's showing all expenditures because all the money's gonna go out of there and it's gonna get paid from the other funds. That one's got a big negative, but that's the way that goes. And then the only other one we had was the dog park, was a request to add money in here for the dog park. And, I mean, we just talked about where we are and where we are with the rest of our, fund balance. And there was a request for $100,000 to be added to the dog park.
We have 177 on grants and raising money. So we don't have 100,000. Yeah, we have 177.
No, we have a grant for $150,000.
And we have
Which has nothing to
22.
do with the dog park. Let's make
No.
that, let's make that true. That's Thailand's funds, and that's only
That has everything to do with it, because that was directed for
That is
that.
to build a park.
Right,
A
and it's
walking
called the
trail,
Twin
a
Lake
pier,
Parks.
and
So
a
we have
river.
another 22,000, we got 10,000 from Coast Electric. So where's all that grant money? Plus at 5,000 from another grant. There's 22,
There's 24,000, 22 or 24.
there's 177 total.
There's 150 that's restricted to certain features,
Mhm.
which appears.
Our
Um,
pier, the walking trail, the
inside-
fence,
The inside part
Mhm.
of the dog park, there's 21,000.
right.
So do we have
We don't have
an idea?
100,000?
We don't know how much idea this dog park's
I had
total?
Machado Patano, who's doing the engineering for it, who has kind of been waiting on any change to it. Break it down for me. The park, which is where the Tidelands grant is going to pay for, is 158,200. That's their estimate.
So we only have 150 for that.
We only have 150, so we're a little over, but that's as close as we can get. For the rest of the dog park inside portion, they have a total of 193,950.
We have how much to go towards that? 20 what?
22.
21,000.
So we're still 170,000
70-ish, yeah.
short?
We'll say that.
Is that using turf? Because I think it is.
That is synthetic turf.
Yeah, no, that's out. That's 93,000
It's
out.
110,000.
Yeah, so we only need like 90,000. The turf has been removed and Bermuda grass has been put in. That was a wish.
Not according to his report that
Well,
he
he
gave me
needs
this
to get
morning, so
updated because he has
I
50
wanted to
emails
get him
stating
updated.
that.
So I don't know what his, he'll have to add in Bermuda grass and what that costs.
He wants that because that makes it more. We wanted that. That would be nice. But so we don't have $90,000 anywhere to finish it.
That's up to you guys. I told you where we are.
If we're already short, I don't know, 90,000 sounds like a lot. Can I ask this? The total is gonna be over 300,000? Is there any way to modify the dog park plans to make it maybe a dog park for 200,000 instead of 300,000?
Well, the 150, we have to do the
Right.
walking trail, the fishing pier. We have to do the things that DMR says we have to do.
Gotcha.
So the other 22 we raised. So we're really looking at 90,000, and that's for fence, grass, the splash pad, the little dog park house. You know, something we don't want to. We want
But can we
something.
do it in stages is what
We
I'm saying?
could.
Like
We
maybe
could do it in
do
stages.
a certain part
Mhm.
this year and maybe add
bid
the
the whole
splash
thing.
pad the following
I
year.
just find it
We could
very.
bid it as an alternate and see what the price is, because, I mean, these are estimates, of course, and we
Mhm.
know where prices seem to be coming
I
in.
find it very devastating. We're
I mean, you
struggling to
guys
get
work hard, and
$90,000.
I don't want to cut it, but I
Mhm.
think maybe if we do it in an installment plan over the next 3 years, where we did this much this year, this much next year, but we get it open and operating this year, or this fiscal year.
Yeah, open and operating. That's what we want this year.
As a
The
real
only thing I'm
park.
concerned about is taking 90,000 out of something and putting it on dog park,
Yeah.
when we still have all these drainage issues and stuff like that. I don't
Right.
know.
I don't think we have it this year.
And we'll work to raise it, but the dog park is something a community needs. It's not a luxury. These are things that bring people here, and we want people to come here. And the young people want walking trails. They want, and we've already raised 177. We'll work to, but when the city's in this, we did raise the 177. We worked hard to get the grant, and we got the 22. So we, as the dog park committee. So, but if the city's sitting in a situation where we're struggling right now financially, when the first meeting we had 5 million surplus and we were wonderful, and now this meeting we're struggling. You see where I'm concerned?
I don't know where the 5 million, that was.
The first workshop we had a 5 million surplus. But then I mentioned we needed to put the 2 million back from FEMA because we didn't replenish that account, which was making me nervous. So we replenished that. So now we're like struggling. How did we get to this point? We've been doing good.
We had, for the last 2 years, we deficit spent to cut down our fund balance. That was, I don't know if that was a directive from the council or if that was the city manager's decision to reduce our fund balance to get ourselves in a more, we were a little overinflated there. So we were doing more road projects, more drainage projects, and on city's dime. And so we're now at a situation where we're kind of at a break even, that 1.5 million to me is our 3 months of reserve for our expenditures, and that's what kind of where we are. So,
I like you taking a conservative look at the budget, I honestly do. I think the thing is, we all have great projects we want done, but we need to have a check and say, can't have everything you want. You gotta be just like everybody at home.
Right.
You gotta spend within your means, and I like that you're
I'm-
taking
I'm-
care of that.
And my concern is that we always have, and not even specific to the dog park, we always have projects, here's my deep concern, and I've done budgets governmental for a lot of years. We're at a point where we have zero budgeted zero capital improvement projects, budgeted none, zero. 1.3 million in engineering fees, and we only have 1.5 in the bank.
Right.
So we need a budget workshop on the projects. We need to get
Right.
serious. We need to see where we are, because it's going out faster than it's coming back, even though we have the medical facility open in August, and it's beautiful, and we know Love's Pharmacy's coming in. That will increase the sales tax revenue. We got Taco Bell coming online. We've got Elliott Homes 46 and 23 on Jim, so we have all that additional property.
Yes.
But it's not here yet.
No, it's not. It's not here, so this really concerns me very deeply. It really does. So, I mean, we may need to look at cutting back, when I'm this tight, I start looking at cutbacks. That's how I'm running. I start looking at, okay, now we're this close, what are we cutting back? Instead of adding on, we cut back. We know now we need to keep raising the money for the dog park. Shane's gonna have to cook a lot more than he did last year, but that's okay.
If y'all wanna have the bucket thing or whatever in
Yes,
front
we're
of our
gonna be,
houses,
we're gonna be standing
come
in front
on,
of the
bring it.
guardhouse
Get
with a
the table set
bucket,
up.
but that's, we'll make it happen, but we need to look at things we can cut back.
All right. And there are no capital projects in the general fund for this budget, minus the road improvement projects that we have to do to keep our infrastructure money.
Right.
But the rest of it is coming out of ARPA and the other grants. So, I mean, it's not like we just stopped trying to make these improvements. It's just.
Oh, no, we have a
different
lot
funding,
of grants.
Funding source.
A lot of grant funding sources, and we're very blessed to have gotten them. But like you said, we do have matches on those.
That is correct.
So we need to start looking at where we can cut. I'm all about the cutting. Well, John, we were in a good mood. Thank you.
I'm
Sorry
still in
about
a
that.
good mood.
I think
Can-
our prosecutor needs to have some more fines.
Or figure out a way we can collect all those fines. How much are we out on the fines now?
I'm sorry?
How much did we have not collected on fines? Didn't we discuss at the last meeting?
We did. I don't have that in front of me this time.
20% or something.
I would want to say there was probably around 30,000.
I thought around that.
It was over 20, I'm pretty sure.
Was it?
Over 20.
Yeah, it's probably 30.
I thought between 30 and 33, I don't know what it means.
Yeah.
Can you email us the one that you gave us with all the, where your additional cost was? Because that was brilliant. I loved that one.
Okay.
It made it clear, more clear than this.
Yeah, this one comes out of the system that we use, and just showing you last year compared to this year, and what adjustments were made in there. But I will.
All right, is there any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Durrell.
Start taking up an offer every city hall meeting.
So, if there's no other questions? Any other business? Any need for executive session? All right, with all that being said, could I get a motion to adjourn?
I move.
Motion made by Councilman Clark. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman